What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another CFB DFS Masterminds. That's Draft Master Flex. This is Gloeck, and we are here to break down the Week 5 slate in college football. Going off tomorrow, September 30th, the last day before we turn the calendars to October, but it's not the last day to make money. We got plenty more of those left, and I feel like tomorrow might be another good one. So this is Dave Gluckman. That's Joel Schrek, and let's get started. Joel, what's up, bud?
I am doing well. Listen, we're off to a pretty hot start to the season. I know you had a pretty big week. You won over $500. I finished third in the biggest contest last week, won about $14K for the weekend. And it's been, if you've been watching our show, it's been like that every week. We've been winning week after week. It's a good start. I do think, and my one piece of advice for folks, if you're getting into college fantasy and you kind of really want to win, take this seriously, don't overestimate how important it is to play every week, right? With college football, it's in the NFL. These guys aren't as popular. There aren't as many writers talking about it. Being in the know of these teams and who their focal point is and how you attack the other opposing defense goes a huge way, right? And I think, people who are playing just 1 week at a time and just pop in, they look at, USC Colorado as the highest over-under, and they just want to play everyone in that game. And for many reasons, you'll realize it'll be very difficult to actually build a full competitive roster. There's 12 games here, so the strategy to be able to fill out your full roster will change week to week, and there's spots that we're learning as we play each week of which guys are rising, which salaries are wrong, and I think that's the testament to the success we've been able to find in the first few weeks of the season, and hoping that continues throughout the rest of this kind of 2023 college football season. Looks like Dave's internet may have just dropped out. So he'll hop right back on. But, yeah, I finished third last week in the big contest. The key was having Plummer, obviously, along with in the game stack in that game. I had him with Jordan in that game stack, along with Castellanos and Bond, and that really loaded up on that game, and that obviously hit. Being able to find that game again this week of who you want to stack up, you don't necessarily have to stack backs in the same game, but when you get a game like that where the scoring went kind of crazy, it certainly does help. So we're going to go through the games this week. I'm pretty focused in on about 3 to 5 games that I'm really featuring that should be able to kind of where I want to load up. But, of course, there's going to be one-off plays here and there that will drop in as we go through each game on the slate. I am stalling a bit to allow Dave to get back on because his computer froze. I'm going to share my screen. We'll do what we normally do. We're going to go through each game, and we'll go through our favorite plays through each of the matchups on the calendar. It's a 12-game slate, so it's a little bit smaller, a little bit more manageable, which I prefer. The pricing is interesting. I'll just start here on the main screen. Caleb Williams, when you're looking at this Colorado, and we'll get to this game obviously pretty early on, but when you're looking at this Colorado defense, they've been pretty poor. And you kind of want to target, you saw Bo Nix kind of go off. There is a spot to target, but at 10-5, it's such a big salary. He really has to have 5 touchdowns, I would say, to even make worth playing. He's going to have a good game, no question about it. But it's what you do with the rest of your roster if you can afford them. So I'm not going to fade Caleb Williams in this spot. It's obviously a huge opportunity. But the ownership versus the upside he needs to reach to pay off this price tag, I don't think he's a must play. I think, there's some value plays, some quarterbacks maybe in the 6K or 7K range that you can play that can maybe not match Caleb, but get close. And what you can do with the rest of your roster will be invaluable by doing so. So just some strategy to think through as we get through this. Looks like Dave got back here. We'll let Dave back in. What happened to the internet, man?
I don't know. It must be magical. Once you start talking about winning money, my computer just shuts down. So sorry about that. It was not playing. We had a good 5-minute back, before the show talk and nothing like that. But my bad. We're back. I'm here.
No worries. I was just we'll catch you up. I was just kind of providing a little strategy on Caleb Williams, right? And basically what I was saying was that it's a smash spot, obviously against Colorado, but that price tag is so high. He needs to have such a good game to be able to afford it that I think he'll probably be over-owned because of what he'll have to do versus that price. I don't think you have to play him. I think you can find better value players at a lower price to build a more competitive full roster. What say you?
I agree. 10-5, he's out. I mean, he's got to score 40. And, I mean, the chances of scoring 40 might be like 30%. He can get there. We know he can. Bo Nix, played very well against them last week, but it sometimes he had to work for his points because the running backs have so many holes. I'm out. 10-5 is too much for me. I mean, will I sprinkle in a 5%? Maybe, because there are a few value plays I feel at running back and receiver, but Joe, I think it's too much for me.
I agree. I think it's too much. I will sprinkle a couple lineups just because he does incredible upside. Part of the factor also is there's a good chance that we saw last week that they just blow him out. And then if he doesn't play 4 quarters, that's another reason why he won't play off the 10.5. So, and reality is Bo Nix was great. He didn't get there.
No,
the reality was for the price, like he was great last week, but he didn't throw for 300 yards, which you'll need that 300-yard bonus to pay off the price tag. So I just think there will be someone who will match or get close to his production at a much cheaper price to make you have a more competitive roster. So
I agree.
Let's get through the game for tomorrow. We'll start with the first one, Clemson and Syracuse. A great game to target for DFS. This is a spot where both teams have good defenses, so it's not like the great game environment where we're looking at a 70-point total. And that's not the case. But what it is it's Schrader is one of the best dual threat quarterbacks in the country. He can run for 100 yards. We saw Duke's quarterback run all over them earlier in the year. For as much as responsibility that Schrader has, as much as he holds his offense, 7,400 is Exhibit A, way underpriced. I think Schrader can get close to what Caleb Williams will do at $3,000 save salary.
Yeah, Gary Schrader is like one of those guys we love in college football, especially because that dual threat that you talked about. And speaking of Riley Leonard and what he did against Clemson, it's very noteworthy. Jordan Travis didn't probably take advantage as much on the run, but he had a bad shoulder. And I think that kind of makes people think, oh, Clemson's, tighten this up a little bit. Yeah, Trotter had a good game, but in the end, I think, that was one of those sneaky like stacks you could have really done well with last week, that Clemson Florida State game. So I'm willing to play in this, and I'm with you because of Schrader's running ability. Look, he's averaged 32.6 DK points. If he gets you 30 at 7.4, you're dancing. I like it a lot.
I mean, you look at Schrader's floor, his worst game is 23.8 points. That's his worst game.
And what's his lowest carries?
His lowest carries attempts is 3 for 30 yards, and he still had a touchdown in that game. And that was a game they won 48-7. So
yeah, but
they're not going to win this game 48-7.
Yeah, the other 3 weeks he was 43 carries, and you're sitting there chipping away at 14 a game. I love it. Love it.
And the competitive nature of this game, I think 10 carries is the least he'll get, if not more.
Yeah, and by the way, I think Syracuse is a live dog in this one. I know they've won there before, but Clemson has got to be down after giving it all last week. So, yes, it will be a competitive game.
I agree with you. People are underestimating the Syracuse team. Schrader is a player. I think if you want to talk about, we talk about Deion Sanders a lot when he talks about I need leaders and I need dogs. Schrader's a dog. If you haven't seen him play, he will run all over you, and then he'll drop dimes on you and throw great passes. I agree with you. I'm actually going to have some action on Syracuse money line tomorrow as well.
I will. He's like that Ryan Fitzpatrick. He just looks like this. Yeah, he's a good guy too.
He's a baller. Now, because I like this environment, right, if I'm going to be playing Schrader, I think I'm going to get some shares here. And the way to go, if you're going to get shares on the Clemson side, is Shipley. Again, Syracuse is tough against the run, but Shipley is their guy. He is the star of this team. He is their offensive weapon that they want to get involved. So you get the star of Clemson at under 6K. It just feels like he's pretty underpriced here in what should be a tough matchup, but the games where he got 9 and 10 carries, they won by 30 points. This is going to be a closer game. He's going to be more involved.
Yeah, I agree. And I tell you the truth, I mean, they have to. I mean, he is everything. Like, when you sit there and watch Klubnik play, he's very indecisive. And when he does rip it, like, it's not long down the field. It's in slants. He's got to get his in a lot of bulk. Not Shipley. He could break one off. And I tell you the truth, Maffa is really he's a guy I'm looking at as well. Maffa at 4,800 gets a decent amount of carries, but runs hard. I know Shipley got the goal lines last week, but watch out for Maffa. He's also good in the passing game. At 4,800, I think he's a decent play. Look, he's never going to break the slate. He's probably safer in cash, but He's averaged 13 points in the past 3 weeks. If he just gets one touchdown, because he's had a few early, yeah, I mean, you could get to a 20-point game with Maffa.
Makes sense. I totally get it, especially with that price tag. If you're looking for a salary saver, there could be an option. Before we move off here, we'll look at the pass catchers. Like, who are we going to pair here with Schrader? Alfred's the number one guy. I mean, he went off last week. They threw to him pretty much every time. He had 9 for 135. He's the guy I would look to target. You don't have to play someone with Schrader. You can just play him alone without one of these receivers. But if you're going to, Alfred's in play. Hatcher has been decent. Maybe Brown as the third option. But again, I think these are optional plays. You don't have to stack.
Yeah, I'm probably not going to. Even in the Clemson passing game last week, Williams was going well and got hurt. And on the Syracuse side, I'm with you. There's just, I don't know. I just think there's just too much to spread around. You might get a 14, 15-point game, not bad, but Schrader can run naked easily. I think it's a good point. And have we talked about Allen yet? Because LaQuinta Allen has been very good for Syracuse from a running back perspective.
We did not, and that was a mistake because you're right. Allen is a very good back who is also very underpriced for how much they use him. Because let's take a look at this. He has 11 receptions in the last 3 games. 11 receptions to go along with the fact that he's carrying the ball plenty. I mean, 17 carries, 20 carries. Again, Clemson's tough up front, but with this kind of usage at this price point, I do believe LaQuinta Allen will be in my top 3 or 4 running backs used tomorrow because of the price point and the usage that he's getting, and what I think is going to be a very competitive Clemson Syracuse game tomorrow. Looks like Dave's internet is really giving him issues, so I'll just keep this train moving. We'll head over to USC Colorado. You know what I'll do first? I'll just go ahead right off the bat and I'll eliminate Florida, Kentucky. Not a great game environment that I'm going to want to target here. I'll also eliminate Northwestern, Penn State. Northwestern is just outmatched against Penn State. Penn State, I will have some interest in the running backs because Northwestern's pathetic against stopping the run. The problem with Penn State is these 2 guys split carries. So you're not going to get a bell cow. You're going to get 2 guys that split. I do think one of them can break the slate and go off, but they're priced up a little bit. So I'm going to sprinkle Allen and Singleton in a lineup here or there because of the blowout nature and the upside. But I don't think either one of them would be a smash play. All right.
Sorry, I was trying to get some comments generated and it dropped me for a second. I'm good. The bandwidth is good, but I was trying to get comments up, so I'm good now.
No worries. So instead of going through the USC Colorado game while you were gone, I figured I would get ahead of it, and I just eliminated the Florida Kentucky game because it's not a great game environment. There's not much you're going to want to play there.
It's not the only one is ETN, maybe. I mean, just the price is worthwhile at $5,200, maybe.
There you have it. So maybe ETN. And then I went to Penn State where I said you can't play anyone Northwestern in this matchup, but I did say I'll sprinkle some of these Penn State backs. The problem is they're priced up and they split carries, but they do have a great opportunity to smash.
Would you touch Drew Aller? Because, I mean, here's my problem. He does get a little carries, but $8,500 seems way overpriced for him.
Yeah, too much price. And, yeah, it's possible, but the reality is likely going to be a blowout. They're not going to be throwing the ball much in the second half. So I'd rather Aller in a game that should be more competitive where they'll need him doing more later into the game.
I agree. He hasn't popped 28 yet. And then the other problem is it's a 6 or 47 point total. So it's just a bad game environment to be 8,500 in my opinion.
Too high. Agreed.
Yeah.
All right. So now let's go back to this USC Colorado game. Listen, this is the talk of the week. This is the excitement. I do think I love Colorado. I'm rooting for them. I do think they're going to get killed again. The issue is
that offensive line.
That's the issue. I think when they start playing competition more like unranked teams, I think they'll look good again. The problem is USC's gets 5-star recruits. Mm-hmm. They have 2-star linemen. These kids are just getting rolled over, and that's the issue. Their skill position players can compete. They might even be better, but the upfront linemen are just going to get dominated like they did against Oregon. And that's just going to be a big issue until they can get some beefier recruits coming. And I'm sure they will next year because they can see that too. But for tomorrow, I think they're in trouble.
They are. But you know what I do like? So USC's strength on defense, and they're not a good defense, but their strength of the defensive line. I get it. They're going to create, they're probably 6-7 sacks. Oregon had 7 last week, but I do think Sanders will still get yards in the air. Now, I'm not in love with 9,500, but I'm in love with some of the receivers on this side. If Weaver is out, we could really find some gems here. I like Weaver, but I think Horn, I'm cheering for Weaver out only from the simple fact Horn would turn into one of my top 3s tomorrow.
I think you're both, but let's go both sides. I think you could play. I agree. If Weaver plays, Weaver is my preference if he's healthy.
Yeah.
Weaver's out, and then Horn is basically replacing Weaver. They're going to throw the Horn a million times. So I think Horn will be a great replacement. But let's not sleep. Listen, receivers have absolutely torched this Colorado team. I mean, torched them. They have guys who get the opportunity to play Colorado have the game of their careers. We saw it with Colorado State. We saw it with an Oregon's receiver, Ferguson, or was it Ferguson? Franklin. Yep. He's great. See, it wasn't his coming up party. He's already a superstar. But you saw, I mean, it was another opportunity for him to let up the scoreboard. The problem with USC is that they don't have like the one guy that's the feature receiver they throw to every time. They spread it out. So it is a little bit of a guessing game which USC got to target. I've narrowed down I have a favorite 3 that I'll be playing. For me, it's Rice, who is Jerry Rice's son.
Yeah.
And he did go off for 133 and 2. He also has already 4 touchdowns on the year. Because the last game he had the big game, it kind of feels like maybe he's starting to become the featured guy. He'll be my preference at the top.
I agree. Rice is my number 1. I think he's starting to develop into just Frank Williams' favorite target. I looked last week, looking at my notes. Tony Franklin was 6,900. So, great play. We played him all across boards. I think I had him at 50%. But you're getting Rice at, 64, and you could get Washington at 65. So you're even getting a little discount at 1A and 1B, and I think both could light it up. I think you could play both and still fit in some good lineups. And I think you can play them, Joel, correct me if I'm wrong, without Williams.
Yeah, for sure. Yep. Well, you can't play both of them with Williams. You just can't afford it. You wouldn't be able to make the lineup work. So you could, if you're going to play Williams, you can really only afford one, or my sneaky, what are you talking about, Joel, play of the week is going to be Lake McCree. Now, you're really be like, Lake McCree, the guy's biggest game, he's got 4 catches for 29 yards. Why are you recommending this guy? The reason I'm recommending him is because Colorado has got burned by a tight end every week this year. They can't stop a tight end. Every week, no matter who the other tight end burns them. Now, Oregon's tight end last week, I guess, didn't completely kill them, but he still had his best game of the year against them. So the point being, if a tight end is going to be involved, and McCree has been involved. He only had 1 catch against Arizona State, but he had 4 and 3. He is involved in this offense. To get him at 3,500, which I don't know why this is the cheapest to have him all year. I think this is a spot where he can have a really big day, as we've seen Colorado struggles with tight end. So I will be playing more McCree than most.
I looked at him. I didn't have him like you had, and deep into that analysis, I love it. Especially 3,900,
35.
Yeah, that's sweet. I think that's a great little kind of. Now, if I'm going to fit him in, and the way I would play him, I feel like I might play him as a 1-off or a 1B. Either one, but I don't think I play 3 receivers from USC.
No, definitely not right. You can play McCree alone. McCree is also a way to make playing Caleb Williams work, because if he's so cheap that if you play Caleb, it kind of gives you a little bit better average down. So if I'm playing Caleb, I'm probably playing him with McCree, because that's the only way I can really make the salaries work. The other guy I want to put on everyone's radar before we get off this team is Zechariah Branch. He's a freshman receiver that's getting more and more playing time each week. He's returned 2 kicks. He looks absolutely electric every time he touches the ball. I think by the end of the year, he is going to end up being the number 1 guy. He is a true freshman, so they might be easing him in more and more. But you could tell already, I mean, the production's coming. I mean, he had 4 catches, 68 yards, and a carry for 17 yards last week. I think this is the guy. So he won't be high owned. If you want to start getting to the party early, this could be another week where he kind of has his coming out party. Yeah,
I like it. I like it a lot. And if we do see on Colorado's side, we talked about Weaver out. We've already said we like Horn, but Tavares Dawson, he's more of a slot scat back type of guy, but maybe he gets a little bit more extended looks here. At least he's been consistent, averaging about 3.5 catches a week. But at 4,800, he's a guy you could I can definitely play. But again, I think that's based on Weaver. So keep an eye on.
I agree. If Weaver's out, I think he's a great play. If he's the third option after then, I'm not sure. But with Weaver out, those targets got to go somewhere.
I'd rather take the tight end if Weaver's in.
I agree. I think he's in play too. Harrison is in play. He's been involved. He had that big game against Colorado State. So plenty of options to look to there. But we'll keep the train moving. We'll go to this Arkansas-Texas A&M game, which, as I was telling you before the show, I love this spot.
Yeah.
One of our old friends, and you guys have been playing DFS with us for a while. You remember we've mentioned KJ Jefferson before. KJ Jefferson is a very good quarterback. He is a very good college quarterback. He also just happens, which we love, to run the ball a ton. He is 16 carries last week, 13 carries the week before, 13 carries the week before that. This Texas A&M defense might not be as good as they might look on paper. They got absolutely torched by Miami. Miami did what they wanted to them through the air. Then they played a bunch of cupcake matchups and they've dominated on defense. But they really haven't played very stiff competition. This is going to be their biggest test in Arkansas against a very good quarterback. I think this is a spot where KJ Jefferson is getting underlooked, and I will be overweight on him this week.
Yeah, I like it. And I'm telling you, looking up and down, he can run a lot, and he's going to run a lot. So when you get a guy like that, I'll probably pair him up with just one receiver. And one of my guys I really like on that side, and you being the tight end whisperer, this Luke Has guy. I mean, I'm really intrigued by him this week at 5K. If I can pair him up with Jefferson, had an enormous week against LSU last week. The week before that as well, went 4 for 78. It's not just that he's catching a few balls. He looks like Sam Laporte. He's able to move with the ball after the catch. I like him a lot this week.
He had a 69-yarder last week. So he can move.
Yeah.
69-yard play. He's a freshman. And I think what's interesting here, you might look at the first 2 weeks, he didn't do much. Those are his first 2 college games. Right? Yeah. So now he's getting comfortable. He got 4 for 78 against BYU with a touchdown. He really had his coming out party against LSU. He's only 5K. Lucas does look to be a very big playmaker at 5K, especially if you're looking at Jefferson. Lucas is very much so in play. Lucas is my second favorite pass catcher on this office, but the first is still going to be Armstrong, who's their top guy, who has a little bit more of a ceiling. If he gets to his 6, 7, 8 catches for 100 yards and a touchdown, that will certainly get you there at 6,200. So Armstrong and Haas are my 2 favorite plays. The third guy who is playable will be Tesla, 4,500. I don't love him as much, but he's capable of getting 60, 70 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think those are good plays. I think this is one of those weeks Arkansas hasn't been very good. But with it looks like Weigman's definitely out. They're going to Max Johnson. It could be a game if they can get up early. They could really start to dictate the game script, which would be big for an Arkansas stack.
Yeah, and on the other side of the ball, Arkansas is much better run defense than they are pass defense. I like some of these pass catchers. Now, Max Johnson is probably one of the best backup quarterbacks in the country. He'll probably be okay. At 8,200, I don't love taking a shot on him. I just think I think there's better prices to go at less. The better players to take that cost less. So I'm not too interested in Johnson, but I do like some of these pass catchers, mainly Stewart and Smith. Smith being the price is right, and he's getting more and more involved in the offense. At 5,200, the last 2 weeks, he's had over 200 yards and 12 catches combined. So Smith for sure in play. But Evan Stewart's one of the best receivers in the country. He was probably banged up last week. He still had 3 for 50 and a touchdown. He had like a 40-something yard catch call back. So he was right there. If he gets back to the target share he had in weeks 1 and 2, this could be another smash spot for him.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a great way to look at it. I had some shares from last week, and he did disappoint. But, it is one of those things. It was just they got the quarterback injured. And it just took some time. Max Johnson's a little different, Brad Johnson's son. And I think now with some practice time, I think Evan Stewart's back in the player pool for sure. I mean, his volumes those first 2 weeks was ridiculous.
Unbelievable. If it's anywhere near that, he's the smash spot.
Yep.
All right. We already went through these games, and we'll fast forward now here to the afternoon. We got Arizona State and Cal. Another interesting spot here. When I look at the quarterbacks, it's funny. I'm a little bit intrigued. I have no idea how to pronounce his name. Bourget? Is it Bourget? I don't know. But this Cal secondary, this Cal pass defense is bad. If you're a starting quarterback for Arizona State, $4,800 is so cheap. I don't think he's got the upside of some of these other guys, but he's so much cheaper that, again, it's another way for you. If you're looking to play Caleb and maybe pair him with him or something, it's a way where you can save some salary. And I do think he can get you in the low 20s with, 250-yard game, 2 touchdowns, something like that.
Yeah, it's interesting. As much as I do think there's some value in Bourget, I actually like the other side, maybe even a little better. I know it's 700 more, but I like Sam Jackson the fifth. Snakes on a Plane, one of my favorite movies of all time. So, Samuel Jackson. Anyway, I just think there's some value here. Like you said, talking about how bad Cal's pass defense is, Arizona State's right there ranked 200th, but even they're bad against the run too. And Jackson's kind of that dual threat, 5,500. I think he's a good sneaky play this week. This game's 47.5. It's not one that's like bursting out, but it reminds me a little bit of Louisville, BC last week.
Yeah, that's a good call. I agree with you. I think this has sneaky shootout potential, a little bit underlooked. Sam Jackson also runs a little bit, so you get that rushing upside. I think that's a good call there. And then I'm looking at these receivers. Hunter's the guy, right, with Jackson. He's their best receiver. They target him a lot. He scored 3 touchdowns. He's under 6K. If he gets you to 100 yards this week, he can easily pay off that salary. Yeah,
I agree. Hunter's a very good play. And, on the other side, Guillory, I liked earlier in the season. He really hasn't been found his way yet. But he's still a guy I'm intrigued with. So I'm going to get there probably in some of the matchups. He was their number one coming in. He hasn't performed that way. 5,200 is good. But the 2 running backs, I think, are the keys to this game. If you're going to get in there, Scatterbo and I could play them both as a run back. I think we could have a big rushing game from both of those. With Brooks questionable, Scatterbo was really featured. Look, 6,400 pretty good for all the volume he's getting.
That's true, especially with those 4 catches too. Yeah, Scatterbo's been the guy. 6,400 is also the guy. I think 8,100 a little too much, a little too expensive for me for my taste. But I do like Badger. I think he's Arizona State's top receiver emerging. He had 9 for 88 last week. I think Badger is starting to kind of find his way here. At 5,700, Badger does have plenty of upside in this matchup against a pretty poor Cal secondary. And as the tight end whisperer that you call me, I will also throw out one of my favorite tight ends, Jalen Conyers here at Arizona State. This guy is a big-time recruit. He hasn't really had the production that we would like, but he had 5 for 71 against USC. So he's involved. At only 4K, he has upsides if he scores a touchdown.
Yeah, I like it. I definitely like it. Again, I think you want to get interesting. If you build enough lineups, this game you're going to want to stack in several of them.
Yeah, agreed. At least get some exposure to it. You can just play receiver solo if you want. Like I'll be playing lineups with just Hunter or Badger as just one of my receivers.
I would.
All right. Now we'll look at this Kansas-Texas game. It's an interesting game. I'm more excited to watch this game in real life than play fantasy players in it, being realistic, because Texas has a very strong defense. They kind of made Alabama struggle on offense. Alabama hasn't been struggling on offense for the most part, but they really had a hard time moving the ball. Alabama can't push them around. I don't think Kansas is going to be able to do it. Kansas wants to run the ball. I think Neal will be popular. I can understand playing him. I think I'm going to take a stance this week and just say Texas wins that battle, and I'm not going to play Neal.
I'm not against what you're saying there. Texas has actually flashed a decent defense, especially against the run so far this year. It ranking 69th against the run, only allowing 87 yards a game. So I like it. I just don't – Neal is good, and he's going to need touches to get there. And he gets the touches, but it's a tough matchup. I might play him a little, but it's not as much as probably the public will play. Listen, this is the highest total on the board, 61. So we're going to have to play it. Like, that's just – even if you believe it's an under, they'll be in the 50s. This game will be, no doubt, somewhere in the 40s, 50s, even if they go soft, but they could be in the 70s as they did a few years ago. So I got to start right at the top with the quarterbacks. And Quinn Ewers, I do think – has value in this game. His best game this year has been against Bama at 31. And I'm going to pair him up with Worthy. Worthy's just one of those guys. If I can pair those two up in this game, maybe get a run back with someone like, I don't know, Grimm, possibly. I feel good. I don't know if I want to go more than like 4 in this game, but that's my favorite stack in this game. Ewers to Worthy.
You know, I'll be honest with you. Going into tonight, I've been prepared. I have not had any exposure to yours or really much. I've been playing Texas running back.
Okay, yeah.
I'm getting, but you know what? You're starting to talk me into it. So now I'm looking at it. I see what you're saying. I think the biggest thing that's hard for me to get around to yours is the price. Because you're right. It is a good game and it's a great game environment.
Right.
But like just looking
at
yours,
30 points, right? If you get 30. Price,
yeah, he does. He has 30 basically twice, 29 points.
Yeah.
And once against Alabama. I think the other thing that scares me is he's got 3 rushing touchdowns and he's not really a runner. He's not going to break the so I think there's some of that regression, but he can throw for a lot of touchdowns in this game, which is something I would expect probably. It's interesting. It's the 8,700 mark that I just get scared off by.
I do too, but I just, with quarterbacks, the number is 30 for me. Obviously, we'd rather want 30 out of a 6K quarterback or a 7.
True. Exactly.
But if I can get there 8,700 and Caleb Williams is getting to 35 at 10.5, I'm all right against probably a lot of the slate. So I do have him in a decent amount of my lineups.
All right. There you go. I like it. What about Daniel? Are you playing Daniels at all?
I am. Oh, absolutely. But I mean, to that point, like I'm going to do it in some runbacks. And now it's going to get expensive, and then I'm going to have to dip into some other areas, but I'm okay with that. And then, one point, Avon made, and I think we're all going to be there. I think Jatavian Sanders is a great player.
Yeah, very good. Jatavian Sanders is one of the best tight ends in the country. And I don't know why they didn't really adjust his price accordingly because they are featuring him now. I mean, they're throwing him the ball. I mean, he does have 2 50-yarders, so the anticipation that he'll hit another 50-yarder is low. But still, that still could be 5 for 60 at 4.7 if he scores a touchdown. He only has 1 thus far rushing. I expect some positive touchdown regression. I agree. Sanders is one of my favorite value pass catchers of the week.
Yeah. Great call, Vaughn. I mean, we were looking at that ourselves, but yeah, great call.
Great call. I don't love these Kansas pass catchers. They spread it out too much. Not one of them really gets featured. I'm probably going to fade them here.
If I want to get like really interesting and go low ownership, Fairchild, I might toss in there. But I mean, I have no research behind it. I have nothing telling you that. But in some goal line situations, if they get down there, Fairchild does become a target of Daniel. So
makes sense. Yeah, and he's affordable enough where it's worth taking the chance on him.
Yeah.
All right, we can basically skip Auburn, Georgia. These are 2 better defenses than offenses. So other than the obvious, the guy we probably talk about every week, Brock Bowers, who is –
and I agree. He's coming. And, he started to come, and he's there. He had
he's back now. They haven't fully adjusted his price. At 5,400, he is definitely underpriced. So Brock Bowers, will be locked and loaded, but he's probably the only guy in this game I'll play.
Yeah, I'm good with that. Yeah, I agree.
All right. Now, Indiana, Maryland. I have a smash play for you in this game. I have a guy that is going to be very low owned that I will be very overweight on. I thought, let's try and guess, Dave. Who am I targeting?
For me, very low owned. So that's why I take Hemby out of the equation. Camper has started to turn it around. So I'm going to say it's Dicious, the tight end.
It's not. It is Camper. So Camper, just based on my projections, that they have him at like 2% right now. If Camper comes in at 2% owned, I am going to be so overweight on that because Camper, as we remember from last year, was one of the best receivers in the country. He was hurt to start the year and a slow start. Hasn't been great. Came around last week, got 4 for 100 and a touchdown. Now in a good matchup against Maryland, they don't have Banks anymore. He's on the Giants. They don't have the same corners as last year. This is a team that's given up some big receiver games. At 5,300, Camper has as much upside as almost anybody.
Yeah. No, I agree. Just quick story. Thursday, I had to drive to the University of Maryland to do a recruiting event. And it was right outside the football stadium. I'm just sitting there, recruiting some Terps, right, to come work for us. And I take a chance. I walk around, and I found out the games this weekend. I start talking to people. And the right thing, you're right. Maryland struggles a little bit in the pass defense, and mainly because they lost players to the NFL. So I'm with you. Indiana is a tricky team, right? They just don't – they don't score a ton, But if they can give Camper a ton of volume, I'm good with that. I like that play.
Jackson has taken over. Jackson's not great, but he's been better. I mean, Ohio State was week 1. That's nothing you're going to do about that. He had 300 against Louisville. Akron, he had one. Akron, he wasn't very good, but I do think he features Camper. He's improving. I'm not playing Jackson, but I think he's good enough to get Camper the ball. For me, that's probably it. Dicious, maybe I'll play in a lineup or two as an affordable play, but that's all I'm looking at here.
Yeah, and Navon talking about in Georgia, he'd go with Edwards, and yes, I mean Edwards is one of those guys, and I'm good with that. I just think he's priced up a little, and Georgia just if they get this game script going, and they're out of reach, they just bench him. But I do like him. Don't get me wrong. I will play him. He's one of the better running backs in college football.
Edwards is great. The problem is they play other guys, so he just never gets like 25 carries.
That's it. And it's other guys because they're always winning. Now, the game versus South Carolina, they weren't winning, but they had to throw in that game to come back. So it's just been an odd year.
Yeah. But you're right. I mean, he's a great player, and the price is right. It's just I get scared with the 12 carries. Like, if he gets 20 like he did South Carolina, he'll get there. I mean, he got there with 2 touchdowns, I guess, against UAB, but UAB is pretty bad against the run. So,
yeah,
this is not as good of a matchup. All right, Michigan, Nebraska. These are two defensive teams. This is an explosive environment.
It's under 40.
Maybe I'll play Michigan's receiver, who they threw a bunch of touchdowns to already, but I don't love anything about this game.
No, I'm pretty sure the total is under 40. I'm double checking again, and my notes had it at 39. So yeah, 39 and a half. No thanks. And Blake Corum, as much as I would want to play him, 8,300. I think you can fit him in some places. It'll be under 10% for me.
I agree. I mean, listen, to your point, Corum can go nuts in any game. It's just we can find someone else that will go nuts at a lower price. So
I mean, and we've done it every week. We did it with Ali again last week. Yeah. Like it's just those types of things. Jordan was a big play last week too. Exactly. He was 6,500. So yeah, I'm with you.
You got to find that other guy. So now these last 2 games of the week are my 2 favorites.
I agree.
2 of my absolute favorites. So we're gonna have some fun. We'll close up the slate. We'll start at this Purdue-Illinois game. One of my favorite quarterbacks of the week at only 5,700, Luke Altmeyer. This Purdue team has given up a big day to a quarterback almost every week. They are not a good defense. They run a fast-paced offense. It's a great environment every game they play. The good thing is Illinois is also a bad defense, so neither team is going to have so much success. And this should be a good week for both offenses. Altmeyer finally had a 300-yard throwing game last week, and Altmeyer has shown some real rushing upside. So if Altmeyer gets it going with his legs here, as well as finally showing some passing upside, this should be a really great spot for him at under 6K.
Yeah, Altmeyer in my player pool, top 3, top 4. Yeah, absolutely. I just think the price is right, and at the environment. I mean, he might be like 2. Like I'm probably selling short. He could even be 1, 5,700. Like this is a good spot. Purdue's been very bad against the pass. I love it.
As of right now, I'll be honest with you, he's 2, and I'm second guessing it, but he is right now my second highest on quarterback.
Yeah, I'm like Schrader 1, him 2 is where I'm kind of, and then for me maybe Ewers, but and KJ's your 1. So yeah.
No, my 1 is we haven't gotten to yet.
No, I got him too. Yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there. We ain't there yet, but I don't love Card this week. Card's gonna be very popular at 6,600. Yeah. I prefer Altmeyer. I just think Card is a little bit more limited. But I will have lineups where, because I'm going to be playing Altmeyer so much, I will have lineups where I double stack and I just get this full game. If this goes way over, then I have it. So I basically am going into this as if I play Card, it's with Altmeyer. I probably won't be playing him otherwise.
Yeah, I think that's fair. But interesting. I think the running backs are big in this game. And Reggie Love is one I wanted to get your opinion on. 4,200, I feel like is a free square. I mean, he's average. He's been better each week, but he's had more than 12 touches in every single game this year. Now, he had a high ankle sprain. So I'm wondering a regular ankle sprain. But he practiced this week. Versus that Purdue defense and the ability to catch the ball in the backfield, I think 4,200 is way too cheap. What do you think?
It's a great point. Here's my issue. 4,200 is way too cheap. Way too cheap. The injury scares me. And what I'm thinking through is, even if I do think he plays, I actually think he's going to play, but I think he's going to play and be limited and maybe get, less than 10 carries. And I think them not giving him a full workload is what scares me here.
Yeah. No, it does scare me, but I mean, I think if he plays, as long as he doesn't re-injure it, 4,200 just seems like he's on his way in this game environment, one that's in the mid-50s. I mean, he's probably 15 to 20 point play, floor 12, ceiling 25 at 4,200. I think that's good enough.
If I would get a coach's note saying that he won't be unlimited snaps, he would probably be my number one running back.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at. So, there's plenty of things to like about him. It's the scare of the injury. How much risk do you want to take? But
yeah.
Could be.
No, another side, Maccabee is he's a guy that we leaned on last year, right? He's a stud. He's a bulldozer. That's what he is.
He's played two tough defenses back to back, which might scare some people off. But this is going to be his best opportunity here. I mean, Syracuse is a good run D, and so is Wisconsin. So I think this is a good spot for him.
Illinois ranked 236th in the nation against the run.
Yep. Yeah, this is a good spot for him to bounce back and have a good game. So
yep.
I think Maccabee is a good way to get your shares of Purdue. But let's not sleep on my favorite receiver of the week. Isaiah Williams, the best receiver on this Illinois team. He is featured. He is under 6K, and Purdue has given up a big game to receiver all the time. I mean, they're a good pass defense. So this is like a spot to feature Williams for me. He'll probably be my highest owned receiver. And then I will be sprinkling in Burks and Yassine. Those are the top two guys on Purdue, and those are the guys I'll run them back with.
Yeah, 5,700 is too cheap. I'm with you. Isaiah Williams is a great spot.
Love it. The last game of the week, 4:00, bringing us home, is my favorite game of the week. My number one play. I am going to be my favorite quarterback, Seth Hennigan. He is involved on the ground. He's a great player. He's a great passer. He feels like he's been around forever. And it should be on paper a really good matchup. The one thing I will call to light is it's a good matchup, but Boise State got absolutely embarrassed and torched by Washington. And then after that, they've been fine, and Washington's amazing. So this numbers probably look worse than they are in reality. They just got killed by a much better team. But other than that, they've been okay.
Yeah, I agree. It's a big game. It's a 59, so it's the second highest total that we have throughout the 12 games. Somewhere you want to be, and I even think Green is a good play too on the other side. But yeah, I agree with you. Hennigan's my preference, but I think Green. I mean, maybe I'm just begging here because I've been playing him a lot. But I think there's one of those breakout weeds coming. Just maybe not through the air, but on the ground. He's just so dangerous.
No, I think you're right. He hasn't had the production, but it does feel like something is coming. I mean, for as much as he can run in this game environment at this price, I understand the skepticism, but it feels like something is doing. This is certainly the game environment for it to happen.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking 11. We got 27 attempts in 4 games, so it's at least 7 a game. I mean, he's going to be up 8 plus in this game. I think it's going to be a different game environment playing against San Diego State, UCF, UW. I think he's going to be relied on more on the ground. Look, 4-4 TD to interception ratio. They don't want him throwing the ball. Yeah. And on the other side, I don't know what happened, but they want nothing to do with Helani. It's all Gianti. And
I think Helani's hurt.
Oh, is that too? Yeah, okay, good.
But yeah,
even going in, they were not giving him the ball this year.
I mean, look, he is being fed the rock. I mean, he had 200 yards against San Diego State, which isn't a terrible defense either. And they're throwing him the ball even at 6,800 against a Memphis team that is bad against the run. GT's probably my favorite running back play of the week.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a great spot for GNT. And I can pair him with Green, and I can run him back with Hennigan.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can get to my favorite receiver, The Rock. Rock Taylor. He's had double-digit targets, and he just for the last 2 games, 143 yards last week, 7 receptions. I just think, if Hennigan's going to find anybody, he's started the feed the ball to Rock. And I think if that's my duo, I'm very content with that this week.
I agree. I love Rock. Rock's my favorite receiver on this team. But don't be afraid to pair my second favorite running back of the week on Memphis, Blake Watson, who you can pair also with Hennigan. Blake Watson, they throw to he had 9 catches last week. 9. If you can get 9 catches as a running back who also gets 18 carries, that's insane usage. He's $6,500, and they're not a good run defense against Boise State. Blake Watson, to me, is also a smash play. I will be playing both running backs in this game as everywhere.
Yeah, no, I like it. I think that's a good point too. This game could see me play 5.
Yeah, agreed. Yep, you can really, you just want to stack because this game has the upside to score enough touchdowns where you can just super stack the game. 2 more plays I like, I'll throw out there. And McAlister's the best receiver at Boise State. He's had some big games. Again, another great game environment. A touchdown with it. He can certainly be a part of this slate breaking. And I'm also going to name Blunkhamsey, who's just been involved. He hasn't had a great game yet, but being as involved as he's been in this passing attack, he can get you there at 5,400.
Yeah, I agree. I think I had my eye. He's on my charts. It's just one of those value plays that I think is worth, dabbling, as we like to say. Just play a little bit. Yeah.
Exactly. All right, I think that's a wrap for the defense. We gave a lot, but I think there's some really good plays in there. I think you definitely can get some gems. It's definitely going to be a fun week. Before we wrap up tonight, Dave, any bets that you're looking at for tomorrow?
We talked about it a little bit on the show. I think Syracuse is in play. I'm playing a few others. I just haven't got there yet because I'm riding tonight Oregon State at home against Utah as they were favored by 4. But, yeah, right now, leaning Syracuse. I'll let you know if I have anything else cooking. I think there's a couple trap games coming up, but how about you?
I think my favorite money line dog is definitely Syracuse. I'm definitely with you on that one. I also like Arkansas. I think I'm going to take the points there because Texas A&M probably is the better team, but Arkansas at home with Jefferson, that's going to be a tough game. So yeah. I'll probably be on Arkansas there in that spot as well.
Okay, yeah, I like that. And then I will tell you that this was my other one. I like Kansas. I do. 16, they've won there before. This is a better Kansas team. And, people are loving Texas, and rightfully so. I've even seen them ranked number 1 in some people's polls. But the fact of the matter is they struggled against Rice even earlier this season. In the right spot, I think Kansas can play in this game and be within that number. So I'll take them plus 16 as well.
I like 16. Actually, I 100% agree. I think 16 is too much. Daniels is a player. Even if they're down, he'll keep them in it. They'll get some garbage points here and there. I think 16 is too big a number. So I am with you on that.
Yeah. I'll tell you what's too big of a number just real fast. And it's USA down to Europe. You might as well pack that one in, Joe. I was watching it today.
Not a good start. Not a good start.
Oh, man. And even when I was, put it this way, I was convinced. I walked out of the room on the last match of the afternoon. I said, all right, we're 6-2. And then all of a sudden, Rose rolls one in, and they win the last 2 holes. And I'm like, we really didn't win one match today. I thought that one was a shoo-in. I think it was Homa and whoever. But it was that's a tough way to end the day too.
Yeah, not a good start over there. I hope we wake up tomorrow morning in a much better position. We kind of have to because otherwise
you got to win 3 or 4. You got to get 3 points.
Win a couple early and change the momentum, change the mentality.
Yeah.
But that's a wrap for tonight. Thank you for sticking with us. Let us know how you do next week. Come back, show us the results. Good luck this week, fam.